Good. All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'Hashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to all the Akim out there pushing the word in sincerity and in truth. All right, so brothers in GMS Atlanta, we got a quick topic for the Akim going into the steps of humility. In this truth, you have to be very humble and meek, and we just, got a couple of different characteristics or aspects of what comes with the spirit of humility. And this is the first is examination, second is critique, third is understanding, and fourth is reasoning. And I'll start with number one. I just read all four out just to outlay what all four is, but I just want to express certain things that y'all brothers have, of course. But the first examination, because sometimes when you go through certain situations, you have to examine yourself. All right, which we got the scripture in Corinthians. You can read that real fast.
God, this is 2 Corinthians 13:5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith.
Right. So when you're in certain situations, you have to examine yourself. That's the most humble way you can approach most situations. All right, especially when you're dealing with counsel matters, when you're dealing amongst the brotherhood. All right, because sometimes situations can be twisted, sometimes things can get distorted through viewpoints and things of that nature. So examination is very, very key, and it's important. It's a focal point with this faith of ours. All right, as you grow and progress, you always have to look and gauge yourself in your progression. The scriptures say that the greater thou art, the more humble thyself. So even as you, ascend up the totem pole, so to speak, you always have to look and make sure that your humility levels is always at base, so to speak. All right, keep going.
It says, prove your own selves.
Mm-hmm.
Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobate.
Yeah, and a humble man would do these things. That's how he would approach every situation, through examination and humility. All right. Just like I said earlier, and if you get that other scripture I told you in Sirach 18, when you're dealing with what matters, you have to really sit back and look at yourself before you actually pointing the finger. Because some things through lack of judgment or lack of understanding, you might have pieces of the plot, so to speak, together, but you might not have the full circle. And a lot of times, which I've seen plenty of times, of course, brothers, as you progress in the truth, and through years and years, of course, starting off with the apostle and down, you see situations can just be distorted and contorted, amongst individual men, amongst sometimes camps, amongst a lot of things, That's why you always just have to sit back and make sure that you actually are dealing with situations the best way. And the best way to deal with them is just to humble yourself. A lot of times you may get God on through reprovals, through rebukes and things of that nature. And sometimes your best bet isn't to buck up and to get your point across, because that's where pride, that's where your ego comes in a lot of times. Of course, sometimes you feel a certain way dealing with getting God on and things of that nature. But first off, just examine yourself. All right, that's going to actually clear out a lot of nonsense and a lot of bickering, gossip, and bullshit in the midst of dialogues amongst men. Submitting yourself unto the rule, which that's the word what subject means, unto the rule or under the rule of the next man. All right, so that everything can be clean slated. Because this truth isn't about beef. This truth is not about dissension, so to speak, and division. It's about coming together. The scripture says, "To gather yourselves, together, O nation not desire." So situations, however you deal with them and approach them, can actually clean the situation, or it can make it worse. And examination is very, very important when you're dealing with these situations.
Okay.
You got that?
This is Sirach 18:20. It says, the fear of the Lord is all wisdom, and in all wisdom is the performance of the law.
I think it's 24.
Okay.
See what that says.
He that has my understanding.
That ain't it. I'm about to get it real fast. Looking at it. It's 18 and 20.
Oh, Sirach 18:20. It says, before judgment, examine thyself.
Yeah, it says before judgment, before the judgment is hashed out, you have to examine yourself. All right, because a lot of times you may get yourself in a situation, and just through lack of examination, things draw itself out, and it gets worse than if you were to just examine yourself and listen, calm down. All right, like yeah, maybe I was wrong with this situation. I just need to take a step back and just reaccumulate and reassess the situation through the eyes or the lenses of the next man. So when I actually approach the situation, it'll be way more clear. It'll be more concise, and I can deal with it as a man instead of what brothers don't see where I'm coming from. Well, you gotta be more spiritual. And you don't even understand the full matter. And a lot of times, a lot of men, they'll jump up and go crazy like that. A lot of men lack understanding, and they don't really understand the full gist of the scriptures. And then it's a lot of pride, man. It's really that. A lot of men don't like to take orders or get God on by men in the circle, so to speak. A lot of men show the face of that, but that's why the scripture says to examine yourself, man. And those type of guys that do those things through lack of examination, because it's pride. That's how you could indicate pride. Pride is the antonym, or it's the opposite of humility. If you don't examine yourself in judgments and things of that nature, that's when judgment get hashed out rigorously, so to speak. That's when it's a strict judgment. All right? Because even when you're on a judgment seat dealing with the court systems and things of that nature, whatever you spew out of your mouth can actually land you a better sentence that you can actually deal with and actually take the hit and get out of jail, or you could actually make it worse and you actually get an extension of time. You got certain people that go berserk on it, talking to the judge any type of way, cussing the judge out, just speaking any type of way and not rising when the judge say to rise, just showing your ass, so to speak. And what does that result in? You thought you was gonna do 15 years, judge just slapped off another 20 just because you wanna act tough. They gonna make sure you suffer, man. And the guards and everything. Hey, sometimes judges they know how to work the system, so to speak, man. Yeah. That's why you can't play around. You have to use wisdom. You gotta utilize wisdom and don't act on emotion. All right, emotion is a trait of women. Men's traits is logic and reasoning, understandings, examinations, critiquing. All right. Read that over.
Sirach 18:20. Before judgment, examine thyself.
Yeah, look at yourself. Examine it and just look at yourself. Take a step back and look, so that you make sure that everything will work out for the better at the end of the day. Also, we dealt with a situation here, with the previous camp leader, Yara Dunn, and a lot of stuff he could have dealt with a lot better if he would have just examined himself and just would have just said, I'm wrong. I am actually wrong from all these different things I committed. I know these men aren't just coming sideways at me just through emotion and trying to beguile me out of my captain seat, so to speak. I understand that these men have been, jacked up, and they've been emotionally, torn, so to speak, from these situations that occurred. And I actually take accountability. And if he would have approached that situation like a man and examined himself, it wouldn't have stretched out to the conditions that it went to. Us hashing out rebukes and all these different things, and to the point where he's not even doing the work no more. Because of what? Pride. Pride is a killer, man. And a lot of men contract that illness through age in the truth, so to speak, through lack of examination, like we just went into the 4 steps, through lack of self-criticism, self-critiquing, through lack of understanding, and what was the 4th one I had? Through a lack of reasoning. All right, a lot of men aren't reasonable, man. You talk to them and you can break the scriptures down all illustrious and graceful, put the pieces and bedazzle, so to speak, just to get your point across with certain men, and they still don't want to hear that shit, man. Because a lot of men got hella nigga spirit in them, and the Most High just ain't dealing with them and want to get them out because of that spirit of pride, man. You had something?
Yeah, I had a precept.
Okay.
This is Proverbs 8:13. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy,
the fear of the Lord. When you first come in this thing, you establish yourself upon the virtues of fear. And with the virtues of fear, those are branches of the fear of the Lord. To hate pride, what was the other one?
Evil.
Evil, which
Arrogancy.
the evil is the bad way. And arrogancy, which arrogancy can equate to pride. That's a characteristic of being proud. You arrogant, how you carry yourself, how you talk down upon men. You talk and regard yourself as a highly individual, and for men to get like you, so to speak. The Most High not dealing with that spirit, man.
That's why once you start gaining this knowledge and wisdom, pray to the Lord to keep you humble. You know what I'm saying? Because once you know, just like Jake in the world, you try to talk to the Jake who think he knows everything. Man, he's prideful. You can't tell him nothing. You know, so once you start gaining wisdom and knowledge, just pray to the Lord to help to keep you humble, just like how you were when you first started coming in.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful point that you made, because a lot of times with guys with a lot of pride, even though they know a lot, they don't have any people that want to learn under them, because how they flaunt and basically how they display their knowledge with pride. You know, they're not coming from the position of teaching. They're coming from the position of being, like the scripture said, being arrogant. All right, showing their ass like I'm this divine individual, and you'll never get like me, so to speak. Men don't like learning under that type of energy. Men don't like associating under that energy, no matter how knowledgeable and how unique you are with the scriptures, man.
Yeah.
That's why you have to humble yourself. When Yahushua was dealing with the disciples, as great as a man he was, he always showed them the ropes. He always came as a brother and approached the situations very reasonably. All right, he broke certain things down unto them as babes. All right, he humbled himself. The scripture said that Yahushua came to minister, not to be ministered unto. So he, as a minister, he actually served. All right, he washed the disciples' feet. All right, he showed Peter how to walk on water. He rebuked him when time was necessary. He encouraged him. All right, he gave him self-confidence, faith. All right, he showed him how to depend on one another throughout courses and tribulations, and how to walk individually. He gave him all these different characteristics, so when he were to die and actually, ascend onto the throne or the right hand side of the Most High, they would be established and they would be great and just as reliable as he was unto the Father. That's why one of the main things Yahushua told Peter was to feed my sheep, feed my lambs. All right, and Peter submitted unto that energy. All right, because even Peter was humble. Yahushua, he didn't set up a proud disciple. Peter, he set up a humble disciple. The Most High always dealt with men that were meek. All right, that would take the execution and would deliver it the right way. All right, prime example with Saul. Saul, through his pride, he didn't take the objective and deal with it as such. The scripture said, if I'm not mistaken, it was Nathan. If I'm not mistaken, Nathan the prophet, either Nathan or Samuel. More than likely it was Samuel. But Samuel, the prophet, he told, because it was in Samuel, it speaks about how rebellion is the sin of witchcraft. But Samuel gave Saul specific and strict objectives to execute. All right, and Saul, he came back and he basically broke the guidelines, and he thought that basically what he did was a thing that it would be obedient unto the Most High and the thing that they would actually like. But Samuel rejected him. He said that obedience is better than sacrifice. All right, when he was bringing the cattle, he brought not Haman the Agag. It was his father. It slips my mind right now. Agag the Amalekite. He was the Edomite, and he brought him. All right, so that was a status of pride. That was a position coming from a position of pride, and of course he was, from his lenses, he thought he was doing the right thing, but just listening, all right, doing that which is committed or which is commanded, that's what the Most High wants. When the Most High told Moses to do certain things, Moses did it through his humility. Hell, the Most High told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. He listened and did it, all right, which he didn't, at the end of the day, he didn't sacrifice him. Yahweh actually excused him from his duties. He just wanted to test his faith. All right. So the same thing with us. Whatever the Most High pushes on us, and a lot of times it comes through other men. We have to humble ourselves, all right? Because it's not even a test to the individual that's saying things to you. It's self-integrity, self-humility that the Most High wants us to understand and to examine, looking at the mirror from our own perspective. Because sometimes also you might be around a guy that's wicked, and he may say certain things to you that may piss you off, that may get up under your skin and things of that nature. But how do you deal with those situations? You don't buck back and fight fire with fire. Submit yourself, humble yourself. All right.
Can I add your point out? Because even just thinking about as you're going into it, the sequencing of the steps of humility. The first step is really heavily focused on yourself. Mm-hmm. You're not focusing on the movements, thoughts of other people, other men. It's really about the internal fight. Mm-hmm. You know, and that really is key, because that really should be the first step, which is why it is the first step. Mm-hmm. You know, because you can't even address an issue really fully if you don't know where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. If you don't know that if it's certain things affecting you, like you said, your perspective. You know what I'm saying? There's even times, it might be certain times you might be, I got demons on me, man. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
that's the examination, yeah.
Right? You know, so even so, a lot of times, you know, even personally, there's certain situations arise where it's like, well, he did this, he did that. Well, first and foremost, examine yourself first, so you have the you can come into it with a clear picture and a clear idea of where you coming from.
Exactly.
You know, and then by you even entering the conversation or discussion with that mentality of already done that step, if you do got something to present, you coming in the right spirit. You know, it's not coming from a place of being on the defense, so you got to attack. Mm-hmm. It's like, nah, well, yeah, you're right. You know what you said about me. You know, you're right, bro. You know, because you already pretty much examined it, or you open to that person's input about the situation, because you already kind of played it out. Mm-hmm. So if you do have something to present, it might be something another brother could have did a little better. Whatever it is. But if you come into it already examining yourself first, your point is, you have a higher probability your point even being heard, because if you come into a situation and you haven't examined yourself, you're pretty much already in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like you said, that correction or rebuke or whatever it is, it might be something constructive. It might not even be somebody getting on you. But if you're not coming to it first by understanding where you coming from, what's going on with you, it's gonna be a blockage there.
Yeah, a lot of times when men, through their pride, they don't want to listen and things of that nature. What was the first reaction? I'm not even gonna say nothing to him, because I know he reacts like a nigga, and I'm not finna get into quarrels and back and forths over petty matters. And a lot of times that mold and that the weeds start to carry weight. Here it is, the man that's actually speaking to you has been trying to chop down certain things, and you basically preserving the demons that's on you. Mm-hmm. And then you wonder why you end up bugging out, and they suffocating your growth. And you can't grow from the next stage from one stage onto the next. You gotta think back. Well, damn, and you be like, why didn't the Most High show me? The Most High did show you. He showed you through the next man.
Right.
But you didn't want to listen to the next man, so you're gonna learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm. And if I can say too, and sometimes stuff happen, man. Yeah. So you might go out in the world and a situation kind of happens, and you don't even really realize that somebody put a spirit on you. Yeah. You might interact with a woman or something, or a feminine man, or a homosexual. Mm-hmm. Because we can't help it. You know what I'm saying? If this is our kingdom, we wouldn't have to really do that. Be in those situations. But because it's not, you might just sit back and be like, man, what happened today, man? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, and that might be a good example of the Most High showing you, hey, in this situation, this happened to you, and it affected, it infiltrated your spirit. Mm-hmm. So when that situation happens again, you better able to conquer that situation.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I appreciate it. Okay. This is Proverbs 27:5. Open rebuke is better than secret love.
Yeah, and in the brotherhood, a lot of times we're going to rebuke each other. We're going to correct ways. We're going to teach each other. All right, we're going to show each other basically the dynamics of life. That's the purpose of the brotherhood, man.
Mm-hmm.
Scripture speak about two is greater than one. So a lot of times when you're around men, a lot of times correction has to be hashed out properly, you know, and that's mandatory. Because even if the man that doesn't push out the correction to the next man, he sees those demons lingering on him, then that could be blood on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you know, the Most High puts us, each and every one of us, at a specific level of leadership. All right, even the youngest of men. All right, when it's another man that comes into the camp and he has certain ways and he has certain, you know, certain funny things about him, it's not for you to disregard or overlook that man, so to speak. You have to start hacking away them demons off of him, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that can go into pride too. Just, you know, waving the hand, like, I ain't dealing with that, man. I'll let somebody else deal with him.
Yeah, kind
Like, nah, man, humble yourself. Scripture says, he that is weak, receive ye not to any evil disputation. Lower yourself. See where that man, how his walk was. Learn him, all right? Learn where he came from, understand certain things, so you can understand why he approaches these situations, all right? So that you'll learn how to even deal with them, all right? So wisdom, that's the purpose of all this wisdom in Proverbs and all these different books filled with wisdom and poetic strategies of dealing with things of that nature. Sirach, Psalms, and all these different books, you know, wisdom of Solomon. It's not to flaunt or just to deal with it on camera or just to say these things outwardly, but to deal with it in the internal factors, to deal with it in your camps and in your regions, from man to man, whether you live in households with brothers, whether you after camp and things of that nature. That's the time. That's one of the most important times to exercise certain parts of the scriptures. All right, and every man has to value the next man around him. That's another point of humility. Mm-hmm. You're gonna humble yourself to the next man if you have honor to that man. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at him like a nigga, then when the man say something to him, you're gonna act like a nigga coming at you. You're gonna, just like the brother said, you're gonna come on the spirit of the defense. Like, man, this nigga ain't got no right to talk to me like that. Mm-hmm. Instead of looking at him as a brother of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is actually trying to help you and actually, like he said earlier, the brother said earlier, give you just constructive criticism to build yourself. Mm-hmm. That's all constructive criticism is, which that's one of the steps that we were speaking about too, critiquing. Criticism, the root word of criticism is the action of critiquing, all right? And construction criticism, sometimes you have to critique the next man so that he can grow the right way. And if you aren't critiqued, then you're going to end up growing improperly, and you're going to start to see down the line how bad and how off your growth is, so to speak. Mm-hmm. What do you have to do? You have to trim down, and you got to go back to the fundamentals, man, which takes way more time if you were to just listen and catch it from the next man through what? Examination, all right, reasonings, understandings, and critiquing, all right? You got the Sirach.
Ecclesiasticus 10 and 14. The Lord hath cast down the thrones of proud princes.
So the Lord have cast down the throne of proud princes. Keep going.
And set up the meek in their stead.
And set up the meek in their stead. All right, because even when you're dealing with princes or kings, a lot of times kings have a lot of pride about themselves. Mm-hmm. All right, they have a lot of self-dignity. They feel like they're self-entitled due to their royal bloodline. Mm-hmm. You know, their father and their father's fathers sat on the throne, so they feel like the whole world is beneath them, and everything that comes to them, it deserves. You know, they deserve it. And a lot of times that approach, men around you, they grow a stench and they grow a hatred for you due to the fact that you feel like you're so high and mighty, and you look at other men like they just insects and worms, man. That's why the Most High casts that spirit off, and he sets the meek in their stead. All right? That's why, you know, in the Elder Anat, he brought out a beautiful point about kings when he was at this camp. He was speaking about how a proud king would just put any man, you know, put thousands of men on the front line just to get slaughtered, just to gain resources and assets and things of that nature. That's a wicked king. But a righteous king would actually get on the battlefield and would actually stand in front of his men and fight in the front lines and show his men the ropes on the battlefield. That's a very, very humble approach. Die for the men that he's actually serving with, instead of having men just serving him and he's provinces and thousands of miles away, basically in the throne eating grapes and pomegranates and shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
Scriptures say the Most High sets meek men instead. Hebrews the 11th chapter speaks about how Moses, he was in, matter of fact, get that. Hebrews 11, Moses in Pharaoh's house, how he descended. And you can reread that, or read that next chapter.
Next verse.
Yeah.
Kind. Ecclesiasticus 10 and 15. The Lord hath plucked up the roots of the proud nations and planted the lowly in their place.
See that the Most High have plucked up the root of proud nations. The Lord hates pride. That's why I said that's one of the fears of the Lord, to hate pride. Scriptures, the Spirit of Yahweh wants us to be aligned and in sequence in perfect harmony with Him, so we can see perfectly through His lenses through this book, man. All right. See how the Most High actually, how He deals with men of pride. A lot of time, even with kings, proud kings, what happen? They get poisoned, man. They get poisoned by the man that they think was their right hand, but at the end of the day, he's been having a strict hatred due to the fact of how the king has been treated. All right, they get poisoned. A lot of times they get killed. A lot of times treaties they have with other groups, so to speak. You will have a humble king, and they like how the humble king actually approaches how he deals with his citizens, and they'll actually break treaties, come in alliance with other kings, and break down the kingdom of the proud king, man. Just through arrogancy, man. Arrogancy is a cancer, man. And a lot of people, they have, a lot of kings, so to speak, they have a hatred for that type of spirit. All right, so how much more us brothers in the faith of Yahweh Shem Yahushua dealing with one another? All right, you see that?
Hebrews 11.
Let me get it.
What you want?
Hebrews 11, where it speaks about Moses. I'll get it real fast.
24.
23.
24.
Start at 24.
Yeah, you go to 24, hit the point.
Hebrews 11 and 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Yeah, even though Moses, basically under Pharaoh's rule, he was in a high and renowned position, but he descended and lowered and humbled himself unto his own people. All right, when you read the story of Exodus, because he was in Pharaoh's house. And of course, when it comes, which Pharaoh is a high and renowned position, and when you deal with those type of positions, it's a lot of perks. It's a lot of things that come with being in the king's house. You get servants, you get honor, you get riches, treasures, you get you get leniency, liberty,
Women.
yep, women. All these different things come with the position of being a king. And that's why a lot of times kings have a lot of pride. But Moses, through his humility, he didn't think like that. He had a whole nother mindset due to the fact that he was humble and meek. And he was known to be one of the meekest men in the earth during that time. All right, as it is written. Keep going.
Verse 25. Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High.
That's humble, man. He chose rather. So he had the decision to be in a high renowned position or to descend and be in the grime and in the mud with the poor.
Peasants.
With peasants. Here it is, you got the noble stock and the aristocracy, and you have peasants, and he actually broke himself down to build the peasants up. All right? So that's a beautiful story. That should give you a lot of inspiration and a lot of self-examination, so to speak, how you should deal with situations. All right, and that's the cancer of our people. A lot of our people, that's why they're gonna be destroyed too, because they don't want to do these things as Moses. They're not following the path of Moses and Abraham, Yahweh Shah, our forefathers, and the prophets, judges, and leaders, man. They following the path of niggerdom, man. Yeah, of the so-called white man. In the path of evil.
And if I could say, you see that a lot with these celebrities too. Whenever you see like celebrities getting out of a car and you got people, paparazzi and the fans, you know what I'm saying, try to take a picture, they real prideful, you know?
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, a lot of times they'll push the people away, things of that nature. And you'll have a lot of times with humble people, they're actually, they have actually an interest to their fans. You got a lot of people that don't give a fuck about their fans but the money.
Yeah.
But you have certain people that express their gratitude and their appreciation because they be like, if it wasn't for you fans, there would be no me. You fans are a collective group that actually make up the person that I actually am. Actually taking your time and actually buying the music, actually playing the music and things of that nature.
Going to the concert, buying tickets for the concert.
Yep.
You know, that's all I want to say.
If I can make a quick point too.
Okay,
And that's another thing too, especially us talking about humility. And I'm just thinking about, it's me, men seeing this too, So one thing you gotta put in your mind and your spirit too is just because you see men, maybe standing bold, on the highways and the hedges, man, highways and byways, you gotta understand, we don't walk around 24/7 in camp mode, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's only one aspect of what we do. Is being out there, and you got to kind of have a certain level of self pride to really go out there and stand out there and speak to the people the way that we do. But you best believe in the backdrop, man. It's just as proud as with authority, I should say, that the men of Great Mill's gonna go out there and speak. Man, it's equally on the humility side too. You know what I'm saying? As far as when we break bread, man, we break bread, man. We literally try our best to serve our brother, man. To the point you'll literally serve your brother. You'll give him man food, give him drink. You know what I'm saying?
Money if need be.
Money if need be. Be for that. Be there for him in his time of need. So don't just think because I just picture certain men just maybe watching the videos and just just soaking up that spirit. That's only one aspect of the spirit given to us by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. There's a very heavy spirit of humility that you gotta embrace in this thing, man, because that's really how like we was going into Moses. When the Most High sees that spirit in you. He's like, yeah, man, this man's worthy, man, of more knowledge and understanding, man.
If I know he could deal with him.
If I could say too, not to go too far off topic, but that's why brothers have been putting out those videos saying come to the camp, to the highways and byways. You know what I'm saying? Just so you can kind of examine how brothers are. You know what I'm saying? Because you're really not getting everything behind the computer.
No, definitely not. Just like the brother said, this is one of many aspects. It's true. It's multi-dynamic. All right, it's multi-dimensional. You just getting one dimension of many, man. And that's why you have to humble yourself and lower yourself to a degree of understanding your people. All right, because that's why the Most High He had us to deal with the poor. Even though we know majority of our people are wicked. And they're basically pieces of shit, so to speak. It's still certain people that's just entangled in the midst of the wickedness and they're looking to be broken free. That's why we actually go out our way to pay gas and do all these different things to rescue and save the hopeful elect that's actually in the world as we previously were. Alright? We actually, spiritually Superman, so to speak. And that takes a lot of humility. Alright? Because we're not fighting the game, get to the top, so to speak. We actually lowering ourselves and gathering our people, and then we're going up as a nation, not individually, just as Moses did. All right, Moses was at the top. He broke himself down. He gathered the Israelites, and they left Egypt, and they went to the Holy Land as a nation. All right, some more on that.
Okay. If I could say too before I get into the scripture, but even with Yahweh Shah, with him doing miracles, healing the blind, that shows humility too. He didn't have to do that.
Nah, he didn't have to. But that was his love and his compassion for his people through his humility and his humble approachings, man.
This is verse Hebrews 11:25. choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Yeah, see, he wasn't even taking basically the position of just living the life. He knew that he had to suffer, and he wanted to suffer. He desired to suffer for the sake of actually redeeming his people. All right, and that's what he did. That's why he had multiple people, hella Israelites, so to speak, a great multitude of Israelites that actually followed him out of the land of Egypt. Him and Aaron, of course. You know, you had the sister Miriam and the captains and the leaders and all these different things. But all these different things was created under the spirit of Moses. Moses established those captains, all right, and elders, and captains of 50s, captains of 20s, and things of that nature. Those were just common slaves, so to speak, common men. But he built them up in the spirit of being leaders, generals, knowing how to fight on the battlefield and knowing how to guard and actually, defend the territory in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right, and that's what we have to emulate. We have to embody the spirit and the essence of these scriptures. All right, and you start to see certain men that like to put it on instead of in them by how you approach them in situations and see how they react. All right, reaction tells a lot about a man's character. And I got a precept still going along the lines of Moses, because we sticking with Moses more so to speak, because Moses was known through his meekness, and the Passover's coming up also, man. And us, through the Spirit of the Lord, if we do right, the Most High will pass over us, and He won't actually drop that axe of judgment. Because this is the time where the Most High is going to do a great slaughtering, so to speak. All right, we living in those times. All right, Sirach 45:1. And he brought out of him a merciful man, which found favor in the sight of all flesh, even Moses, beloved of the Most High men, whose memorial is blessed. So even Moses' memorial, after he died, his name is still held in high regard due to the fact of what he did. If he would have just stayed in Pharaoh's house, he would have just been another, somebody in the position of Pharaoh, or somebody in a joint position. It's not that highly written of as a testimony. His testimony is more glorified due to the fact of what he did, the feats that he actually and the bouts that he actually went through to actually get his gain the success of his people. All right. Because if he would have actually kept along those lines, that would have been still really, according to the Israelites, so to speak, that's an act worthy of treason, man. You're not going to take care of your people and try to actually help and get your people on the rise.
And I'm pretty sure if he would have done that, he would have been basically doing the Egyptian customs, serving other powers,
engaging in all that witchcraft and idolatry, as Janus and Jambres. All right, verse 2. He made him like to the glorious saints and magnified him, so that his enemies stood in fear of him. By his words he caused the wonders to cease, and he made him glorious in the sight of kings, and gave him a commandment for his people. So all these different things the Most High was dealing with Moses in a high and glorious way, due to the fact that he listened, man. And he was very compassionate, and he wanted to get his people somewhere. All right, he's seen his people being beaten down and being broken down by the Egyptians. As of today, we see our people getting beat down by the so-called white men in the streets, locked up unjustly, sentenced to these long prison sentences and things of that nature. All right, and we're fighting to get out of this condition, really, as a nation, man. We want this whole system to be broken up so that we could be restored in the kingdom of heaven, and all peace will be established. All right, because it's actually, we suffer. All right, our people suffer. And if you have a high connection with your people, you actually could feel the sufferings of your people through you, man. That's how Moses was. He sanctified, let me read that part of it. And gave him a commandment for his people, and showed him part of his glory. He sanctified him in his faithfulness and meekness. So that's how he was made holy, through his faithfulness and his meekness, his humility. And chose him out of all men, because he was known to be more meek than all men on the earth. And that's why the Most High even endowed him with blessings. miracles to perform through his spirit, so to speak. All right, he allowed him to actually carry the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments, and be a friend, see the Most High eye to eye, so to speak. All right, all through Moses' meekness, and he knew that Moses wasn't going to take these things and make himself as a deity. You would have a lot of niggas that would be in the position of Moses, and they'll split the Red Sea and be like, how you did that, Moses? Hey, you know a nigga, hey, I got way more coming, man. Just don't worry about it, man.
Pop collars.
Yeah, shit, you know how I do, man.
I raised that staff so high, man.
Yeah. But that's a nigga for you. That's that pride, man.
Yeah.
Moses, he always gave honor unto the Most High. Yahweh Shai, he always gave honor unto the Most High. When he did those miracles and things of that nature, what he said, that is not by my power, but the Father, glory in the Father that is in heaven. All right, because the praises ultimately go up top, you know. So it says, verse 5, he made him, to hear his voice, and brought him into the dark cloud, and gave him commandments before his face, even the law of life and knowledge, that he might teach Jacob his covenants and Israel his judgments. And that's showing you that the Spirit is only for Israelites, all right? And that's our people. That's the ones that Yahweh was speaking about. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor, for ye shall inherit the earth, for ye shall have everlasting life, and all those different things of that nature. All right? Yahweh went to the poor men in Nazareth, Galilee, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, all throughout the different coasts of Israel, to where the poor and the weak, the sick, the maimed, the ones that wasn't getting medical care, that wasn't getting taken care of by the Roman establishment, it was through him being the physician to mend the wounds of the broken, all right, to prescribe righteousness unto the spirit of the ones that were stripped away, man. So that's the same job as us that we have to partake in, and that we have to, look forward to taking, so to speak. And going back to the steps, but you have to critique yourself, you have to humble yourself, all right, you have to examine yourself, and you have to be reasonable, all right, dealing with men above you, dealing with men under you. This isn't a thing of tyranny. This isn't a thing of you got a position, so you want to just put the foot on the neck of the next man and break him down. Nah, that's not how we roll here, man. We're looking to grow to be a nation full of kings and priests, judges, ministers, and righteous men, all under the spirit and rule of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, that's what it's about. Everybody should have the spirit of being aligned as one, gathering ourselves in one unity, so to speak. And of course, with all nations, you have hierarchy. A judge and a priest. Even though the scriptures say we're a nation full of kings and priests aren't on the same. They don't have the same dynamic basis, so to speak. It's a hierarchy. One position is esteemed above the next, but nonetheless, we still have to have honor amongst one another. That's why even kings, a lot of kings back in medieval times and things of that nature, what would they call each other? Your eminence, all right, your majesty, your highness. And you would have one man call him your eminence, they would call him your highness, because they got a respect and they got honor for one another's position in the spirit. All right, so we have to think, and we have to actually have that same, associate ourselves in the same likeness and in the same respect for one another. You have anything? If not, we'll go ahead.
You have something?
You can go ahead.
Matter of fact, what was that? 2 Chronicles 12 and 12?
No, I still got that one to read.
Okay, read that, and then you can close with that.
Okay. 2 Chronicles 12 and 12. And when he humbled himself.
Can you go a verse up?
Okay. 2 Chronicles 12 and 11. And when the king entered into the house of the Lord.
So we dealing with the king here. All right, somebody in a high position. All right, probably has slaves, riches, and dominance as far as the eye can see. He's in a position of nobility. Keep going.
The guard came and fed them.
Keep going.
And brought them again into the guard chamber.
Keep going.
Verse 12. And when he humbled himself.
And this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the king. And when he humbled himself, so as a king, humility is key. Keep going.
The wrath of the Lord turned from him, that he would not destroy him altogether.
See that? The wrath of the Lord turned from him, that he would not destroy him altogether, due to the fact of what? Him humbling himself. Humility, lowering himself. All right? even though he was the top, he dealt with gold, he dealt with silver exchange, he dealt with slaves, he dealt with ports of riches and all these different things. All these things come with the territory of the king. All right, chambers. All right, agriculture, all these military. He's over all these things. But he humbled himself under the spirit of the Most High, which is the greater king of all. All right, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. All right, he didn't say, well, I'm above the Most High. There's no king but me. There's no God but me on earth, so to speak. Where's the God that I don't see any God? I see this crown on my head. He didn't come with that approach. And through his humility, it says the wrath of the Most High was turned away. Because if he would have took that approach, he would have had that axe chop his head off, so to speak, through the spirit of the Father. Is there more?
I just finished preset.
Okay.
And also in Judah things went well.
Yep. So things will go well with you if you just humble yourself and listen to one another. All right, deal reasonably and deal as a man. All right, as a wise man, a man of prudence. You get the scripture, yeah.
This is John 8:54. Yahushua answered, "If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father that honoreth me, of whom ye say that he is your power."
Yeah, we're not looking to get self-dignity or self-honor. The honor comes from one another. That's why the scriptures say, let another esteem thee, and not thyself.
If I can say too, that's why we give all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
All right, tells you that also in Jeremiah. Let not the mighty man boast in his riches and things of that nature. The strong man rejoice in his strength, but rejoice that you know the Most High. All right, and you exercise the spirit and the wisdom of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Because we are indebted unto the Father. All this wisdom that we accumulated, it didn't come of ourselves. We're actually drinking from this well in this fountain of life right here. All right, we didn't just gain an epiphany one night, so to speak, or just gain all this divine wisdom just from laying down. We had to actually labor and go into the spirit of Yahweh Shemawashah and humble ourselves and read to learn to be developed to the position that we in now. And we have to keep that same energy and that same practice unto the end. And if we do these things, like it tells you in Peter, it says that it makes you so you're neither unfruitful nor barren in the knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You'll be able to abound more and more unto the coming of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and be perfect as the Father is in heaven. All right, so any brothers want to say anything? So that's all we have for you, Akim. Hopefully you brothers was edified. We'll end it by giving our praises to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Radash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom, Akim.
Shalom.